سلام كورات تعذبتنا وقعد حمساهم زي مستر اتش ريل بيبل حقنا سبات ميديا زجاجون اقرب يكالو هابتي سلام كورات تعذبتنا خمي توعلو خمي تمسيو كابزي قصيلو نفتي زربا لباماتن وي معدات بلار استي كنأتو هاي نزا فيديو دكتور بركة هبته سلاسي بروفيسور ناي حقي اب يونيفرسيتي نورث كارولاينا فيديو حبرنا نسمعها.
Wonder if any of my listeners has heard of the statement by the Reverend Martin Luther King, the great Martin Luther King, when he wrote a letter to his co-workers from an Alabama prison. He wrote a letter in which he said the following words, which are famous. In fact, they are now inscribed on the statue of his statue, which has been built in Washington, D.C. The words are, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." Whenever I hear the sad story, the tragic story that's going on in our region of the Horn of Africa, right now in Tigray, I think of this memorable words of Martin Luther King. I would like to substitute the word person with government or nation. It takes one good man, as it has been said, I think famously said by Edmund Burke, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. If I may substitute men by government or leaders of governments, I think I can apply this to our situation right now. I remember the words, the courageous words of General Colin Powell when he was Secretary of State of the United States, words which he uttered from Khartoum, Sudan, accusing the government of Sudan of genocide in Darfur. Of course, he was reflecting the policy decisions of his government, but it takes a courageous man like him to convince his colleagues or his superiors to arrive at a decision concerning people that have been under attack. I might say the same thing about what's happening in Tigray. The Tigray people are now caught between two belligerents. On the one hand, the government of Prime Minister Abiy of Ethiopia, and on the other hand, the people whose government or whose leadership was called the TPLF, the Tigray People's Liberation Front. Now, there have been all kinds of statements, reports on the war in Tigray. Some of these reports are supported by evidence of journalists who have managed to arrive in the area, excuse me. Now, there have been claims and the counterclaims. On the one hand, the government of Prime Minister Abiy says that there was no casualty in Tigray. As a matter of fact, when the war was ended after the attack in November 4th, a week later, Prime Minister Abiy claimed that the war was ended without any casualties. Without any casualties. And he declared that the war was a mopping operation, a law enforcement operation, a police operation trying to arrest or catch the criminals, as you call them, or the leaders of the TPLF. Now, mind you, it's a police action that involved heavy-duty military hardware, heavy artillery, tanks, airplanes, including, I might add, this frightful instruments that had been supplied by the Arab Emirates. Now, the victim is the people of Tigray, who have been subjected to this horrible tragedy for no fault of their own. Their government, their former government, the TPLF, might have made mistakes. Many Ethiopians blame them for many things when they had the power for 27 years leading Ethiopia. There was a lot of corruption, a lot of abuse of power, but they were overthrown. They were replaced by the government of Prime Minister Abiy. What moved the government of Prime Minister Abiy to declare war on the Tigray people? And I might add, with the collaboration of the leader of Eritrea, the unelected president of Eritrea, is one of those mysteries of this war. There are, it is claimed, I think quite with substantial proof, there are Eritrean troops involved in the war. And therefore, it's a war between the Tigrayan people in the middle, whose leadership is accused of having committed crimes for which they are being, the attempt is made to apprehend them. Now, I think that the duty of the international community, of the governments of America, the European Union, and all other right-thinking governments and leaders, individuals, is to think of three most important imperatives. First of all, this war has to come to an end. The belligerents have to come to the conference table. Secondly, the government of the United States, I think, has begun to take steps to collect evidence about what is going on. The reports of heavy casualties, including casualties of innocent civilians, the TPLF supporters, agents of TPLF, claim that as many as over 200,000 people have been killed. This, of course, is denied by the government of Prime Minister Abiy. So it's very important, I think, for the international community, the United Nations, the European Union, and all responsible governments to make sure that a commission of inquiry is formed, that first of all, the necessary evidence is collected if crimes against humanity are committed and war crimes are committed. Institutions of industry have been destroyed. Who was responsible for this destruction? Crops reported have been burned, and people have been massacred. Let me read a report from the Economist magazine. It's titled "Massacre in Aksum may be one of many atrocities." Quote, in late November, Haile Selassie said goodbye to his children and drove towards Adaga Hamus, a town in the mountainous northern Ethiopian region of Tigray, where his aging parents live, and his father is a priest. As churchgoers gathered in his father's church on November 30th, the familiar murmur of prayers was replaced by the crackle of gunfire. Witnesses say that Eritrean soldiers had entered the village that morning, looting homes and burning crops. Then they went from door to door, seizing young men and killing anyone who resisted. Scores died. Many families lost more than one member. Hailai was dragged from his parents' home and shot in front of them. The killers drove off in his pickup truck. Now, this is a report from the reporter of a well-known American magazine, international magazine, The Economist. Now, the response to that may be unproven. That's why I insist that the most important thing now is for the international community to establish a commission of inquiry. Secondly, it's very important to come to the rescue of the innocent victims. Relief has not been, people have not been able to bring relief to those who need it in Sudan, where there are thousands of refugees from Tigray. And within Tigray itself, 100,000 Eritrean refugees were dispersed in three camps. Two of the camps were actually destroyed. It is a matter of guess as to who destroyed them. Some claim it is the Eritreans, others claim it is the Tigrayan militias. Still others claim it is the Ethiopian militia. The important thing is that they were destroyed, and some, of course, thousands of Eritreans were dispersed and are now living in fear of death. So these stories of tragedy, of atrocities, reported atrocities, should concern the conscience of the international community. It should concern all of us. And I think I'll stop there. But I appeal to all people of conscience to call upon their governments, especially Americans, to call upon their governments, and all Europeans to call upon the European Union to make sure that these three imperatives are carried out. First of all, gathering of evidence, whether atrocities are being committed, whether crops are being burned, whether people have been massacred and looted, and secondly, to bring relief to people in need in Tigray. Thank you.
እዚ ዝቐረበ ቪድዮ ነቶም ዘይትፈልጥዎ መንእሰያት መብዛሕትኦም መንእሰያትኩም ትኮኑ ትኽእሉ መብዛሕትኩም ግን ትፈልጥዎ ኢኹም ዶክተር በረከት ሃብተ ስላሴ ፕሮፌሰር ናይ ሕጊ ኣብ ዩኒቨርሲቲ ኖርዝ ካሮላይና ቻፐል ሂል እዩ ፕሮፌሰር ካብቶም ኣብ እዋኖም ኣብ ስሳታት ዝለዓለ ትምህርቲ ዝተምሃሩን ብዙሕ ናይ ኣካይዳ መንግስትን ዓለም ለኻዊ ፖለቲካን ንስሳ ዓመታት ዝኣክል ዘካየደ ኤርትራዊ ኩርዓት እዩ ሓቀኛ ሰብ ካብ መትኮሉ ፈንተዝ ዘይብል ሃገራዊ እዩ ኣብ ሕብራት መንግስታት ጀሚርካ ኣብ ኣፍሪቃ ኣብ ዝተፈላለዩ ሳልሳይ ዓለም ብዙሓት መጽሓፍቲ ጸሓፈ ኣብ ብዙሕ ቦታታት ሰርሐ ቅዋም ሃገረ ኤርትራ ኣብ ምንዳፍን ምጽፋፍን ንኮሚሽን ቅዋም ዝመርሐ ክሳብ መጨረሻኡ ከዓ ነቲ ቅዋም ኣብ ግብሪ ዘውዓለ ሓደ እዩ ኤርትራ ኣብ ጠቅላይ ግዛኣት ናይ ኢትዮጵያ ከላ ድማ ኣብ ስርዓት ሃይለ ስላሴ ኣብ ተፈላለየ ሓላፍነትን ማዕርግን ዘገልገለ ሰብ እዩ ዋና አቃቢ ሕጊ ጀነራል አተርኒ ተሓባባሪ ላዕለዋይ ቤት ፍርዲ Associate Justice of Ethiopian Supreme Court, Ministry ውሽጣዊ ጉዳያት ወይ ቫይስ ሚኒስተር ኦፍ ኢንቴሪየር ሚኒስተር ኣብ መጨረሻ ድማ ከንቲባ ናይ ሃረር ወይ ሜየር ኦፍ ሃረር ኮይኑ ሰሪሑ እንተኾነ ግን ስርዓት ሃይለ ስላሴ ኣብ ኤርትራ ዝወስዶ ዝነበረ ፖሊሲ ስለዘይተቐበሎ أما فارق ناس الساتات كاب كل حلافنة مزنة قدفوا ناوتس تسدي كم ذا عينة حلافنة معارقين زلو وسب صبق هو كنبر زخئل بحلوتي تعجبوا بأوتيستا بشفير تندلق خنبر زخئل زنبري نازي رح ريحو زخدسه بعلمة كل لعل نفسه تراي حسب سبكون الله دكتور بركت مهورت راي زي كوني قداماي بتمرتو اديكيشن كالاي بلبو منو wisdom سالساي باندو common sense ناز كله اتقاللو زخيد زخودو intellectual ابونان اياناني بكل ملكعي فلا زبها السبكة كم زيو معدوها أمريت أودعني نزي نسو زي نزا فيديو زي آخر أخلو تمالو مشت أبقى زا خوفيلة تأكدني إدما كال فيديو يرئنيري بزعبا ناي وتهدرات نا إثيوبيا ني سيفيليان تقارو قتلو خلو بقفعي مسرأخو بتعمي حزينة لكأسي بالله دما حديرين إذا بزخونة معكني كابزخونة سوي هزبي عليت سعادة يخون تسألي إريتراوي أمحاراي تقراواي بربرا زخونة زائدة سبعوي جبن قبل عندك سبات و crime against humanity ايو كندزيز اكل تشكاني قبل على سلاماويان والسيفل دك سبات نمن تادلي ودسب لعلى اراوت انسسا كندزيز اسكحكح قفعي كترئي ان كلها نفسها يتلاكا انت خونقن اتي فيديو كتريو خلها قرب زقارج انا قراتلو برقص ناي إثيوبيا وتهدرات ديوم وايكونانون ينو قرب لطرطركا نغرالو اذا اخن طرطرنا قدنيو مغناتو قدم حجي استفعل زتسنع فيديوتات سئلتات سلازرانا بخوما عيني كريو جوجي ايكونن قبي سلازي نازي نقرزي بمردة نحنا كلها إريتراوين بزي سمعتن بزي مهواخن تتنكغنا كالرئال لنا نالو ميزالو فيديوتات بزحنا قرات كغيارين كسنا عن سلازي خير سلازي بتنكا خطحاز ويكرئز اللوو نازي مفتحقين أبكند أبزين فلطون زي تراقاقات نقر آتينا أبكند مكساس نبكال زيت دلي نحين مفداي أنفت كيكدنا عند حسبنا بعين حاليات كريون بتعقستي نتوم زمركوتهم ناي علم لخاوي محبرات آتيوم كساب زمرمرون وإنفستيجيت كساب زقبرو نتسبيهم إذا خايو حالي كافتي معدو دكتور برغز معدنا زنبرن تساوعت كأزقبرون زنبرن انت لازم سوازي اتوم زقبرو خوينهم بأوانو قلطيفهم حجي آتيوم نزينا قراتي زي بتقبو أقباب ناي مرمرة وإنفستيجيت أقباب زلو غيرهم نزي منقسنا إثيوبيا سقط غيرهم كأتو خمزلوهم كنا جونا بزحلو في فيديو سقطوه قبرو لزهولو تلو خبزيهم كلهم حجي ندكتور آبيش لزخوني السخاء لزخوني برايم مينستر ناي إثيوبيا نزو كل زي بإثيوبيا وتهدراتهم بناي إريترا زبحال زلو يخون بعلاتهم بناي مرحة وياني زكاية زلو قفعي بتم ملشيا ناتهم زكاية زلو قفعي نزو كل زي أبزي أوان زي زكاية زلو بوخلو ملكعات قفعي أو كساب زي بالي إذن أقرز قتساليو أبزي تدلين أبزخف أنكونتات كأتو سلو زخوني نحنا كم إريتراويان جن حجي عابي زخوني قداي شقرن تساقمن نحنا قداي سلو زلونا نوانا خامس الناس سلو زلو نايب عراوين متتاونا وهاقرنا خاني نعنا تقمي أيكونن أبز على في فيديوكم زقول أسكو نعم عرباويان هاجرن فتينانا زمصانا هاجر أيكونن وإيدنا مديرنا لنا زمص أيكونن مسمص أنا ريفرندم غيرنا نخلن بكل أجواب سلسة عرنين مرجع سلسة نبرن تراين نزي مسارزي نزي ناس نزي هوانا هجاني عدلني بين اللونا ناوشتنا كأتوا ولا زخون غيرن كم زي بعض اللون إساس كل بسوا إساس كوردوا زبال زلو ولا هم أنت تجبرون تيجي زخون نجر نمان زتأكمي نعياتهم انترس تأكمي زخونة سعادة أب زخونة أفريقيا ترين إرترا زي كوننا أفريقيا حاليو وين إرترا حاليو ما تسكبر ولا حاجة يلن نتاتهم متكل كل جزء نايتقمو مجمري أنا هاجرهم فرس كامس أمريكا فرس كامس يوروبيان نتاتهم لازم احنا قلنا زغل عدل نبوما لنا حماقات مرحتي عدل كوين حماقات مرحتي حزنا بأفريقيا احنا خافتهم كلهم من أفريقيا أزقد دمر عرخيبنا أبزو كل شجرنا أتسلا زلنا نايزي آتاتهم متتاون كما حدا تبو ديرنا كانوا قربوا ندري هذا على الكوم سبات ريمو بخلتي وقان كري أزلو بتنك أخت حزلو سلا زخوني زكاة المتن أنا حجي أب قدينا أدهبنا كندينا قرات كنقبر زلنا خطرنا فلو زلنا كل ودب زبالة جيب زوان زي أيدينا حنت ودب حنت أمبريلا حزنا كم جا أقدموا هند عمتات غيرو كزرب زي سنحي government in exile ويدما منقسي أبسدت بحال أقيمنا بحنت أفكن كدلو نخيل حجة غان سامت أسر فيس تخون الله وذا حاجة حواتنا كمو فعات مورات كلهم زخيلون نزنا قرزي أطبيقهم بزار بلولو حجي جيزيو الجيزة يكون جيزيو تمالي إنيرو جيزيو بقوم تمالي إنيرو عامي إنيرو قد ما عامي إنيرو جيزيو كان زخونة تاتيس حجي I hope نعنا خبرنا نايزو خناتا زمت إزولو نحنا أبرناش كنكيرو نخيلا يكون بناتنا خناتا زمت يكون ناتو ممت إزولو خناتا سلا زولو إتيناتنا ممتنا شقرنا سلا نفلت نابو أدهبنا هاي بحادو خوينا إيدي إشكالنا بحادي نسرح كبرات حواتي بروخ مشيت سنلكم سماعكم يا مسكن بروخ مشيت بروخ ليتي
Missing some